Hello, vinyl community, VC, YouTubers, et al. Anybody else who's stumbling across this? Hope everyone is keeping well as per usual. So I'm here to contribute to Jack's celebration. When I say Jack, I mean Vinyl Martini over the pond. And he is celebrating 2 years in the VC and 100 videos, which I believe he's surpassed now. At the time of doing his competition, I think he'd hit the 100 video mark. So he's also pushing to 600 subscribers, he's done really, really well. I'm going to be honest, I don't watch Jack's channel all the time. I do dip in and out of a lot of channels on the VC just simply because I just don't have the time. But what I have seen, the videos I have watched of him, he's got very eclectic tastes. He's got a wonderful kind of direct delivery, which is great. He's not a kind of non-verbal, sort of and ahra like I am. I always pity anybody who watches my videos who's hard of hearing and they have the subtitles on, because it would just be not great. So happy to support his channel and enter the competition, which I understand that the winner of which will be able to donate $100 or the equivalent to their favorite charity, which I think is a very admirable thing to do. So that's great and quite refreshing. So let's go ahead with the contest. So the first part of the competition is to mention two vinyl community channels that you feel need a bit of a push, or you particularly enjoy, maybe need a bit more love, etc., etc. And the second part of the contest is to show a discography or a selection of records from an artist that you really appreciate, but doesn't necessarily get an awful lot of love or get shown that much in the community. So the first part. In terms of the vinyl community of channels that I'd like to promote, neither of these channels, I would argue, particularly need a push. They're both pretty well established channels. Certainly the latter has been going longer than my channel, but they're both channels that I watch regularly. I always watch them more or less as soon as they're uploaded, because I just find them very stimulating, very interesting. I learn a lot from both of these channels, I have shouted them out before, but it's been a while, and I think they're deserving of another shout out. So first one is John, Baggy Hi-Fi. I think he's around about the 500-600 subscriber mark, so he's doing reasonably well. I suppose you could argue he's in that kind of mid-tier section. He's not up there with the Mazes, the Melindas, etc. But he's well, as far as I'm aware, he's well thought of, well liked, and deservedly so. He's got a great delivery, really original, creative. Talks a lot about sort of music, that a lot of which I'm aware of, a hell of a lot that I'm not, though. And you're always going to be showing stuff, and he talks very eloquently about these artists that he enjoys. So, and of course, you always get the ridiculous sort of Monty Python style intro, which are always make me giggle. So that's great to see as well. It's great. So that British humour, I love it. Fantastic. Okay, the second one is Allan, Static Traveller. Yeah, Allan doesn't need any introduction or embellishment from me. Everybody knows Allan, or if you don't, it's about time that you did, because he's fantastic. And again, another unique channel, incredibly knowledgeable about music in all its variety: classical, jazz, folk, rock, progressive. You name it, he's featured and shown records or talked about these genres with a lot of understanding, a lot of love, a deep appreciation of the music, and it really comes out, and it's extremely engaging. And and then he's got, again, the absurdity and irreverence of sort of the Penge and Derek thing, which I know he doesn't do all the time these days, but always raises a smile. So yeah, if in the unlikely event that you haven't come across either of those channels, I urge you to go and either subscribe or certainly watch some of their content, because they're great. Okay, so moving on, I'm going to talk about and show a few records from a group that, quite honestly, as far as I'm concerned, is regarded as a Marmite band. And those outside of the UK probably won't understand that. But basically, that means that you either like them or hate them. There's very few people, certainly that I've come across, that kind of sit on the fence with this group. They have been shown. They do get shown every now and again, but not very frequently, and in most cases, not particularly favourably. So I'm a huge fan of them. I've mentioned it on more than one occasion, and I'd like to show their records. I don't have their entire discography. There's a few of their records that I'm still missing. A couple of them I don't particularly like it anyway. They're all right. If I saw them for the right price, I'd probably pick them up. But all the ones that are my favourites I have. So anyway, but I'm gonna show them and whip through quite quickly. Okay, so the group is the Incredible String Band. Okay, so for those that don't know, they are comprised, or originally they were comprised of Robin Williamson, Mike Heron, and Clive Palmer. Robin Williamson, Mike Heron from Edinburgh, Scotland. They're just incredibly talented musicians. Have sort of the music's deeply rooted in folk, and sort of very acoustic. And they started in 1966, and this is their debut album. So this is a UK early stereo press. I don't think it's a first press, might be a second press. The record's a bit noisy, but originals of this or early pressings do go for some money, and it took me a while to find this one. But so this is where it all started. So fantastic, some fantastic songs on here. Maybe Someday the Opener, Mike Heron's great. October Song by Robin Williamson was, I think, Bob Dylan was quoted as saying that was one of his favourite songs of 1966. And I think McCartney commented on it as well, that he enjoyed it. So even at this very early stage in their career, they were already, for people who were in the know, those at the sort of cutting edge of pop music, and music at that time could recognise the talent and the originality of this band, and they certainly are. Still yet to kind of, I guess, get into that kind of hippy-dippy psychedelic, more psychedelic feel that they would on some of the later albums. And this is the reason why Clive Palmer, who's this guy here, actually decided to leave the group after this one album, because he was far more into sort of blues and folk and rootsy, more sort of traditional music, and went on with COB and various other projects into the 60s and 70s. So yeah, sadly no longer with us. I think he passed away a few years ago. But yeah, I think his song "Empty Pocket Blues" is a lovely, lovely laid-back bluesy number on this one. So yeah, that's the first album, and it was at this stage that they sort of, I guess, had a bit of a rethink. Robin Williamson actually went travelling, as a lot of artists did in the sort of mid to late 60s at that time. Sort of went on a pilgrimage, ended up going to Morocco, picking up an awful lot of strange stringed instruments that were either unheard of or very uncommon in the UK. Brian Jones from the Rolling Stones was obviously somebody who was sort of getting into those kind of East and the Ragga thing, certainly in '66. That was something that was, sort of artists were contemporary artists at the time were getting aware of. But they came back and they, Robin and Mike, who are now obviously just the duo, the two of them, and they came out with this one. This is the wonderfully titled 5,000 Spirits or Layers of the Onion. So this is 1967. Fantastic kind of psychedelic cover, totally of the time, by The Fool, who were the agency that produced that, and a lot of other fantastic artwork of that period of time as well. And yeah, there's people either love this record or hate it. Again, it's very quirky, very kind of not psychedelic. The cover kind of belies the music inside. It's not sort of psychedelic. There's no fuzz guitars or anything like that. But there's just a lot of interesting, fantastic, folky, progressive, quirky songs that are just great. No Sleep Blues, Painting Box, The Eyes of Fate, Hedgehog Song, First Girl I Love, which is probably my favourite, about a failed relationship. Again, Robin Williamson, just genius as far as I'm concerned. Fantastic writer. Yeah, and production by Joe Boyd, who of course did a lot of the sort of UK folk of the time, Fairport Convention, Nick Drake, and so on. Yep. Then their third album was this, Hangman's Beautiful Daughter. So this is into 1960, early 68 now. And this was, this was a top 10 album. So this was probably the peak of their commercial, this is about as commercial as they got in terms of the charts, with this one. This is when the girlfriends started to appear. So you got Rose Simpson and Licky McKechnie, and wonderful, like a kind of woodland sort of like a woodland kids pageant or something. Just wonderfully playful and bucolic, you know, which really just really illustrates and sort of complements the music within. Fantastic Kyoadi there, the first opening track. I love that. The silliness of the Minotaur song, Robin Williamson again. Just like if Monty Python ever produced a folk song, you know, it would maybe sound something like that. And then the fantastic 13-minute Mike Heron epic, probably one of the best things he ever wrote for the group. Very cellular song, where he's weaving kind of traditional folk verse and song into just a psychedelic folk suite, I guess you could call it. That just doesn't sound like anything else. Robert Plant was a huge fan of this, of the string band at this time, and by all accounts, at early Zeppelin concerts, they used to play that on the PA before the band would come on. So again, you know, they were just garnering, because of how creative and original they were just garnering interest all the time. I believe the Rolling Stones even asked them to join at one stage, which they were very flattered about that, but I think they turned it down, and possibly a wise decision from them. Okay, and the next one, this is Weam and the Big Huge. This is probably their peak, and arguably my favourite album of theirs. It was actually marketed in America as two separate albums, so you'd got Weam and then the Big Huge. This is the UK, I think, first press of this. You've got Robin and Mike in the middle, and it's not in the best condition. It's got a laminate cover, but it's kind of split, and you've got the kind of all the lyrics on the outside. But yeah, particularly Weam is my favourite. I think just the songwriting from both of them is amazing. So we've got Job's Tears. I love that sort of, with obviously the biblical reference there. Puppies, Mike Heron, I absolutely adore. Beyond the Sea, the Yellow Snake, quite sort of psychedelic. Then you've got country sort of feel, Log Cabin Home in the Sky. The wonderful Half Remarkable Question from Robin Williamson with a sitar. Mike Heron's sitar on that is just amazing, absolutely incredible. Air, and then the crazily childlike 9-minute Ducks on a Pond, which my son absolutely loved when he was a kid. I used to play that in the car, and it's like sort of like just the most bizarre nursery rhyme kind of song, just crazy stuff, hilarious and kind of knowing and clever at the same time, with a kind of warped wisdom. I mean, it's just, they're amazing. I just think, yeah, they're just great. I love them. Really, really good. And then after that, 68, we're going to 1969. This is Changing Horses. This is where a little bit of a dip in quality for me. Show the gatefold. Some lovely illustrations there from Robin. And he often put poetry and so on as well in the sleeves. So we've got Big Ted, a bit of silliness there. Sleepers Awake, and Creation, which is another long haul piece. But yeah, not quite up to the standard of some of their earlier stuff. This is I absolutely love this next one. This was 1971, and this is where Malcolm the Maestra had joined the group and was starting to take some of the vocals. This is Liquid Acrobat as regards the air. Fabulous. This is an original on Island. Lovely. Upgraded this one recently, paid up a little bit for it. But this has some of my favourite ISB songs. Talking of the End, Worlds They Rise and Fall, Mike Heron. What a great song that is. Evolution Rag, Williamson. Again, there's the silliness. There's some sort of traditional stuff as well with a kind of jig medley, which is great. So, you know, again, with all the kind of the quirkiness, the progressive kind of folk, they're still harkening back to their roots and their love of traditional music as well. Traditional folk music, I should say. Okay, and then they then did a series of records that were kind of much more in a band, you know, that could be played with a sort of band. They got drums, electric guitar in, and that's Earthspan. So this is now 1972. Yeah, this isn't a bad album. My Father Was a Lighthouse Keeper, which is a Malcolm the Maestra song, is actually one of my favourites actually on this album. That's a fabulous song. Blackjack David. Yeah, another one. And then 73, No Ruinous Feud. This is probably my least favourite. This is where they were kind of just not really knowing where they were going, kind of trying to do a more eclectic sound, trying to do something a bit more commercial. You got everything from sort of cod reggae on this to sort of more rock orientated stuff. It's okay, not their best. And then their final album, 1974, before they split, where the kind of tensions were starting to come into the band, and they were definitely less collaborative than they were. This is Hard Rope and Silk and Twine. This is a wonderful copy, I'd say near mint copy that I bought online, that I don't think has ever been played. It's just so crisp. Wonderful first pressing. On Island. And it even came with this little tour insert as well, on tour 74. Write-up from Melody Maker, which was really, really interesting and nice to have, and some pictures of their sort of back discography once they'd moved to Island Records from Elektra. And yeah, highlights for me on this, Dreams of No Return, Robin Williamson, probably one of my favourite songs of theirs. That's just very dreamlike, very psychedelic, wonderfully weaving just different key changes, different tempos and stuff. Fantastic. And then the epic Ithkos, which is Mike Heron's kind of suite on side 2. Which has its moments, and there's actually a documentary on YouTube which you can watch from the time, where they actually hired out some cottages in the country in Wales, I think it was, and recorded. The band shows you them rehearsing this piece, this sort of epic Ithkos piece that they were doing. But wonderful stuff. Yeah, so that's 25 minutes. That's gone on far longer than I expected it to. So thank you if you stuck with that. Go and check out Incredible String Band if you haven't. They're wonderful. So Well, I think so anyway, but there you go. That's just my opinion. So anyway, but congratulations again to Jack. Thanks, Jack, for putting this together. It was fun to do, to give an excuse for me to show one of my favorite artists. So yeah, go and subscribe to Jack if you haven't already. Get him up to those 600 subs, and good luck for anybody entering the competition as well. Perhaps give it a go. It's all for a good cause because it's a charitable donation that you can make to a charity of your choice. So there you go. Okay, guys, so I hope you're having a great weekend, and I will be back again soon. Cheers, take care, thanks, bye-bye.